Question number 2, so the last question on sheet number 5. So the
8. Tyler. All right. I don't have any new handouts for you guys, but I do need you to go through your binder and find 4 and 5. 4 was the book work, and 5 was those 2 worksheets that I gave to you last class. So, you get both of those out, please. All right, so today we've got a handful of things to do, but a bunch of small stuff. If you remember from the first ed class, originally we had planned on our first quiz being today, so it is actually going to be next class, so that makes today a little bit more relaxed, just kind of filling in the gaps here. But I want to, on the 4.1 worksheet, I'd like to discuss question 10 with you. A lot of you tried that last time, and I saw a few of you even got it, but I want to make sure they're all on the same page from that. Then I want to take any final questions you have from the book work, which I thought I exhausted those last time, but just in case. And any questions you may have from the 4.1 worksheet, the part you should have done on number 5. I will take questions from the other part of that. Then I'm going to tell you how the homework class rates get put in so that you are aware of that. That's pretty easy, but you can be penalized if you don't have some of it, so I just want to be transparent there. And I even opened those up in Google Classroom so that you guys can start turning those in today, because you really should have those finished, except for Worksheet 4.1b I gave to you last class, but I told you didn't have to have it done because you'd have some class time to do it today. So the rest of that, though, I think you should have finished. All right, so let's look at this number 10 on our practice quiz. Number 10 was the only one that didn't look just like the notes and just like the book assignment questions. This one tried to pull in all of these different skills. Now, if it's on a practice quiz, this is still fair game for the quiz, so don't be dismissive. Anything we ever do in the notes, a book assignment, or on a practice worksheet or quiz is definitely fair game for the real quiz. So I think the hardest part of this one is just kind of setting it up. If you guys get the picture looking okay, I think you are much more likely to take the correct path here. But even if you did this question and you got it correct, there's one calculator trick I think you guys are not aware of that I'm going to show you on here that is kind of important. All right, so we're supposed to find the distance between Fayetteville that has this latitude and Kansas City that has that latitude. They tell us how big the Earth is and that the cities are on the same longitude. So here's my Earth. Now, since both of these are on the same longitude, kind of the trick or what you need to do for the picture is you need to imagine that you turn the Earth so that the cities are just kind of on the edge. Now, I'm going to try to make this as accurate as I can. So if this is 0 degrees, Fayetteville is a little bit more than 34. So here's Fayetteville at 34 degrees, 30 minutes, and 52 seconds. And then a little bit bigger than that is Kansas City. It's about 39 degrees. And we are supposed to find the distance between those two. Now, if you're talking about a short distance, you can use that distance formula from geometry. But if you're talking about a wide distance like this, you have to take into account the curvature of the Earth. It's going to add some distance. You don't get to just go directly straight between those. You don't get to cut in through the Earth to skip from one city to the next. So now that I've got the picture set up, if I want to know this distance, what do we call this distance in mathematics? This, yeah, arc length. If we want to know the distance all the way around a circle, it's circumference. But if you want to know the distance part way around the circle, it's called arc length. And didn't we give you a formula to solve for arc length? You should have practiced that in question 9. Every skill to this question is stuff that you practice in the first 9. It's just trying to combine some of them. So if I want to know arc length, I simply can put in the radius, which we gave to you. And then theta represents the central angle. So basically, how much does this angle have to open up between Fayetteville and Kansas City? Well, let me simplify these angles. I'm going to just make up some numbers. If Fayetteville was at 35 degrees and Kansas was at 40 degrees, how big would this angle be? 5 degrees, okay. I was wondering if I said it wrong. So you're getting that by subtracting them, right? If you know where this one is, you can subtract it away from this one, and then you know what the difference is. You want to subtract these. But subtracting degrees, minutes, and seconds from degrees, minutes, and seconds can be a little bit tricky. But luckily, we have talked about how to change this to a decimal. 39 full degrees. A minute is a 60th of a degree, and a second is a 3600th of a degree. So in your calculator at some point, you would need to say, well, Kansas City is 39 degrees plus 47 over 60 plus 52 over 3600. Now, for those of you that got the question right, here's the calculator thing I need you to know for future stuff as well. Kansas City as a decimal is about 39.8, it looks like. And I understand the temptation to just say, well, it's about 40 degrees, or it's about 39.8 degrees. But if you start chopping off some of this angle, your final answer is going to get further and further away from what it really needs to be. So your calculator has a nice built-in way to keep up with this exact answer, and you don't have to round until the very end. And the trick is this little button here. It's the store button. Did y'all use this at all in Algebra 2? Okay, this is very handy. So if you type in what you've got, so you're not keeping up with 8 or 9 decimals to try to keep it exact. If you hit that, it's going to put an arrow on your screen, and then you can store it in for any letter you want to. Now for me, this is supposed to represent the angle at Kansas City, so I'm going to just store it in for K, because K, Kansas City, and that helps me remember. Okay, so now on my calculator, anytime I say K, it knows exactly exactly what I'm talking about. It's not just keeping up with a couple decimals, it's keeping up with the whole thing. I'm just making sure I type this in correctly. Okay. So that's about 39.8 degrees, but I'm storing this in for K. So I'm writing that on my page so I remember. Makes sense that you don't want to write 8 or 9 decimals. So usually we just have you round to a couple, but my calculator knows exactly what that is. All right, now I'm going to do the exact same thing with Fayetteville. I'm going to tell it Fayetteville is 34 full degrees plus 30 minutes plus 52 seconds. Okay, and so my calculator gives me that as a decimal. And again, I understand why you guys round this, but again, if you round in the middle of the problem, your final answer is going to be off a little bit. And in this case, it ends up being miles different. So I'm going to store that in for, let's just do F for Fayetteville. Now, anytime I use F in my calculator, it knows the exact, not an estimate, but the exact value of F. So to find the angle between those, I can just say what is the angle at Kansas City minus the angle at Fayetteville. And it's roughly about 5.3 degrees. Again, I'm not going to really round, but I'm going to write it like that for just a second. So this arc length we were trying to find, it's just supposed to be r times theta, and they gave you r from the beginning. You just found theta, the central angle. It's about 5.3 degrees. And so you're going to be tempted to say, well, let me just multiply that angle by 4,000, type that in, and that gives me my answer. But remember, this formula, as straightforward as it is, only works if theta is in radians. So I really need to convert that angle into radians. So times pi over 180. So that's about 0.092 radians. 0.092 radians. But again, you don't even want to use 0.092 because that's technically a little bit wrong. But now I can multiply that by 4,000. You don't have to store these because I'm just using the previous answer and it remembers the previous answer. And that's a little bit off. I think I missed a number somewhere. Something seemed off earlier. It should be 369 in the end, right? I think it might be this first angle. I think I might have typed it in incorrectly. It just felt It felt wrong. I don't have all the numbers memorized, of course, but should have come out to 369. So I don't know. Let me look at that for just a second and see if I can figure out what went different. I'm not sure. I know I did hit a wrong button in there somewhere, but it's okay. The general process is okay. Yeah.
Is there a way you can reset with the letter changes to?
Like when you store something,
Yeah.
you don't need to. So like 3 months from now, if you type in F again, it's going to remember what that is, but it doesn't interfere with any other part of the calculator. So someday, you know, in a week, if you want F to be something else, you just store that in for F, and it just forgets what the old thing was. So it doesn't mess anything up. So that's just kind of a technique so that you guys don't have to write down 8 or 9 decimals and type in 8 or 9 decimals several times. Just store it in for a letter, and then when you use that letter, your calculator will know what it is. But we really like this type of question, again, because it's pulling together several different things that already came up in questions 1 through 9. You're supposed to know what arc length is in the formula. You did that in a question or two. You need to know that that formula only works in radians. You need to know how to convert degrees to radians, which you had to do in a couple questions. You had to convert degrees, minutes, and seconds into decimals. You did that for a couple questions. And other than making a picture and trying to figure out how these pieces fit together, there wasn't really anything new, just harder because it's a little bit longer. But I did want to at least discuss that one together. You guys okay with that process? If you got stuck on that last time? I'd say if you got stuck at the beginning last time, it's probably the picture. Imagine the Earth turned with the cities on the far right. So then the distance between those is arc length, and then it's something that you can do. All right, so if you struggled on that one last time, it's not a big deal because you will get another chance. You've got that 4.1 worksheet B where you should get another chance at number 10. So what I want to do is take just a moment, and you should have out your book assignment 4 and the first worksheet 5. And I'd ask you to finish those up for homework and to check your answers to those. So we got a little bit more time than normal. Is there anything from the book or from the first worksheet you would like me to go over and explain again? Anything that would be beneficial? Okay. Then, as you guys finish up worksheet B, I would like you to go ahead and start turning those into Google Classroom. I've made those posts this morning. They should be in there at least. I guess I should double check because different classes, different due dates and such. Let's see, we're 5th. Oh, okay, I did not. So give me just a second to do that. Okay, so I don't always have you turn in your notes, but the first thing would be for me to see that you completed the notes. Okay, that one is now in Google Classroom. You can take pictures and submit that. Number 4 is the book work. I pretty much always give you some participation points for doing the book work. And that is now in Google Classroom. And then finally, number 5, the worksheet and worksheet B. is now in Google Classroom as well. But the part I want to warn you guys about, it's not something you should be doing anyway, but with homework grades, class participation grades, most of my grades that I give like that are participation grades. So it can be an easy 100, but there's some catches to it. So what you should do before you turn these in, I guess, is look at your notes, which was number 3 in your binder. Just do a quick 10-second scan to make sure that you have it all done. You didn't like go to the bathroom and forget to fill in part of it. You didn't lose a page. There was 2 pages to it. If you have all that done and you turn it all in, you will get 100 on that part. Just participation. Then on the bookwork, it's the same thing. If you have it all, and I can tell you checked your answers, so like I can tell there's not some random weird wrong answers that you never asked about and never fixed, you will get 100. Same with the worksheets. I provided the solutions. If it's all done, you didn't skip a question, you will get 100. But on those type of assignments, since those are easy grades, me and Miss Thomas, who's the other pre-cal teacher, we grade all of those the same way. There's only 3 different grades we assign. 0 if I never see it. Full credit if I get it on time and you didn't miss anything, like you didn't skip a question or you didn't obviously do some stuff wrong and I can tell you didn't check your work. The only other option is half credit. So I warn you about that early on in the year, because if you forgot to do a question or 2, you will be upset that you get half credit, but I'm transparent with that. Part of the reasoning is, if you don't do some of it, we're not getting into a back and forth about you think you deserve 8 out of 10 points and I think you deserve 7 out of 10 points. Also, some questions take less effort, so just saying, well, I didn't do 2 questions, but those 2 questions might have been more work than 2 other questions. When I check your homework, I honestly spend about 15-20 seconds, and so in 15-20 seconds I can obviously tell you didn't make corrections and didn't check your work or you didn't finish something, then I put in half credit. Otherwise, if it looks like you did it all and put in a good effort, it's an easy 100%. If you lose some of it or you forget to turn it in, remember we still do late credit. Late credit is half points, but it has to be fully completed and turned in before the first test, which is still weeks away. And if there was something that you got half credit on because you didn't do it completely, you can finish it, turn it back in before the next test, and you can get half of your points back. So if you get half on an assignment because you didn't do all of it, if you finish it and give it to me before the test, you get half your points back. So usually that's 7.5 out of 10. So again, there's no reason for you guys to be just ignoring a couple questions. I always give you time to ask for help. So if you're doing what you need to on time, you know what you need help on, and there's no reason not to miss any. But that's the trade-off of the easy grade. If you're not taking it serious and giving it your best effort, then you can mess up and get some half credits. Okay, so you got 2 big things to do then, it sounds like. It sounds like a lot of you guys need to do worksheet B. So now that we've done the notes, you practice it in the book work, you've done a practice quiz, we looked at the hard question on the practice quiz. Now the second practice quiz should really let you know where you stand and if you need to put in a lot of time studying or if you just need to review for 5 or 10 minutes. But I have the solutions to that one on my website as well. So you need to check it, and if you're getting about half of the questions right, then you should expect to make about half, 50% on the quiz. If you're getting most of the questions right, you should expect to get most of the questions right on the quiz. We're pretty transparent on that. Shouldn't really feel surprised. Okay, and then if you turn those into Google Classroom for me, then I can start putting some of your grades in. The reason why I asked you guys to do Google Classroom is it makes it a little bit easier for me that I don't get a stack of papers all at once as far as getting them back to you in a timely fashion. But also, I can't promise to do this all year, but I always try to grade these early if possible. So I gave the same speech to first period about half credit and all that kind of stuff, and then I graded their assignments in Google Classroom, and there was like one person who forgot a question. but because they turned it in early and I was able to check it early, I just wrote a comment and said, hey, it looks like you're missing at least one question. They fixed it, resubmitted it, and they still got full credit. So I try to help y'all out that way, but it's more likely that I can help you out that way if you turn it in as early as possible. So turn those in, and I will start grading some of them, and if I see something that's going to keep you from getting full credit, I will comment, and that should show up as an email to you. And as long as you fix it before class starts on Monday, which is when we take the quiz, then you will still get full points. Yeah.
Let me get a copy of the page, part B.
Oh, part B, sure. When you guys are absent and you miss some handouts, you know I do the class reporting that's on the top of that bookmark page where you can watch what we do. I try to link them all where you can print them out if possible. But I also put our extra copies over here. I told you this year. One of these bins right here says pre-comp handouts, and all the little tabs are numbered, just like I asked you to number them in your binder. So if you were absent on Wednesday, you were out sick or something, then ideally sometime on Thursday, you know, especially if you're in the hallway or something, you can come in here, grab handout number 5, and you can help yourself, and you don't have to wait on me to finish what I'm doing to help you do that. It's right there. So you have the what's number 2 in your binder. There's one. Yeah, that one tells you how to sign for the Anytime y'all need to borrow one of my calculators, just help yourself. Try to do that before class starts. On this quiz, you may use a calculator. I'm sorry. The quiz will be similar to these questions. But anything we talked about in the notes, or showed up in the book assignment, or showed up on a practice quiz is very good. What I would suggest is that you just pull the video and just get the and see if it's working. We'll try not to do it too many so that you don't have to do that too much. Does anyone else have any other questions before you can move forward? Either one. The back of the book is going to have the odd answers, so that's quick if you just open it up because they're all right there. But for even answers, usually you have to click the video, just get to the end and see if you get something out of it. I try not to assign too many either. Okay, and of course, if things show up today as you're looking over your stuff and studying that you want some clarification on or you want it explained again, I would be happy to do that. But I can't read y'all's minds, so if you need some help, you can go in. You got all that kind of read lesson? Do you still have the handouts from day 1? This is number 2 in your binder. There's the one in the bookmark. Okay, give me just a few minutes to put in a couple grades from Google Classroom so that if something's not complete, I can try to tell you and you can correct it and you can still get full points. So let me do that for just a few minutes and then I will be happy to help out some more. Okay, so for the people who got them turned in the quickest, I checked yours already. So again, that just gives you an idea that I'm just trying to glance at it, make sure that you did it all, nothing obviously wrong, no big shortcuts. And anytime I see something off, again, I try to check that before it's actually due so that you can correct it. But like what I just checked, I'd say there's about 10 people who turned in the 3 assignments, and all of it looks good except on number 5, there was 2 people who turned in 1 worksheet, but I wanted both. So if that was you, I wrote a comment, so it should show up as an email, and as long as you correct that before class starts on Monday, you can still get full points. But I can't promise to always do that, so y'all need to be careful that you're not missing a page, or somebody first period turned in 1 page twice and then didn't turn in one of the pages. So just double check it before you submit. Okay, and now I'm about to come around.
Teachers, pardon this brief interruption. Again, we're going to conduct a student count. So please reference your 8 a.m. Dr. Miller Google email. Count the students sitting in your class at this time by grade, and enter that data on the Google Sheet. So at this time, count the students in your classroom by grade and enter them on that Google Sheet that you received at 8 a.m. this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, if you have any math questions, just call me over as I come around. You should be making sure you have all those things finished, not missing anything, turned into Google Classroom. Did assign, if there's any of these, you should practice again on the weekend and study for your quiz. And maybe before you call it quits today, you might want to put a reminder in your phone or in a planner about our quiz on Monday. Typically, I don't take questions on quiz or test day. So if you guys need some help or you have some questions, please make sure you ask. Okay, so this, it looks like you're converting this radian into degrees, which you can do. But I don't see, so I think you're missing the mark on what coterminal is. Coterminal means give me an angle that's going to be at the same spot as that. So that's where you have to add or subtract the revolution. So you could either just take this and add 2 pi or subtract 2 pi, or it's positive, so probably add 2 pi. If you want to convert it, you can, and then you should add 360. The problem is, if the question's given, it must be in the same number as given. If you do it that way and you add 360, you gotta convert it back. PowerPoint. So you should be using the same formula you did up here. I don't know. Well, there's two worksheets. There's worksheet 1, and then there's worksheet B. This one is for you.
Not checking both of those things.
You need both of those in. But you need to check your answers to this before you turn this in anyway. So on my website that you bookmarked, you need to make sure all these are right, and then that will tell you if that answer is correct or not.
Oh.
So again, I just don't have it. If you don't, if it's not correct and you don't know why it's in it, let me know.
Did you get finished with that one you were checking on? Yeah, all 10 now?
questions? How's it going? Okay. Is there something I can help with, or? Okay. Just tell me. Sorry, I have to bug y'all a lot until I trust that you'll ask for help when you need it. Okay. Now for these, are you doing this for the even questions?
I'm just so.
Okay. Just to check the answers? Okay, let me show you a little bit the way. I don't want you to have to wait on it. Back. These look all the way back here, where this is located at. And then here'll be all the odd answers. So that's a lot faster. And then you only really need to watch the ones that you missed. Yeah. And then the even ones, yeah. But you also don't have to just like wait it out. Just get to the end and see if it's the right answer, and then you can watch it. But that's a lot faster. Mm-hmm. They're the same, and neither one's more simplified. I know the solutions sometimes make it look like that, but I don't. Some of those solutions have been made up for like 20 years, so we've been using a lot of similar shit. Personally, if I were you, I would quit here,
Okay.
just because this is one more step, and you might make a mistake and miss the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys still have almost 30 class minutes, so if you're not ready to take the quiz, please make sure you're using that time to study. I do try to come around quite a bit, especially at the first of the year, to make myself accessible, but anything I'm working on over here I can always do later. So if you guys do have a question, you don't have to wait for me to come around the room. Just call me over or bring it up here to me. Whatever's easier for you, please let me know how I can help.
over there. Yeah. You just have to either leave your phone or put your name on the board. So you come back.
we're down to about 5 minutes here. So again, our quiz will be at the very start of next class. So make sure that if you feel like you need to put in a significant amount of time studying, that you plan accordingly. I do think it's a good idea for y'all to review your stuff, even if it's just for a couple minutes, even if you feel pretty strong. You can still keep turning in your 3, 4, and 5 in the Google Classroom all the way until our first test, but if you want full credit on it, it has to be turned in before class starts on Monday. So, of course, the sooner you do that, the less likely you are to forget about that. But update your phone alarm or update your planner if there's any of that stuff you need to follow through on. I think that's the last I've got for you today.